Word on the street. Fish Smash Show. What's the word on the street? Like, who got the beats that be killing the game? Who's up on the scale? Who playing who? What's the score on the sheet? Fiso the Prince got him taking the seat. Got the legends giving us the 411. Fiso Maz from the 031. No hating sports and entertainment when we got it all and we the only ones. And after all that action, ever how we dripping hot fashion. Drippy on some rich municipal stylists and soak up with passion. If it's giving us less, then we never settle. Make sure you pull up and bring all your medals. Sit back and relax, let's go. It's Fish Smash bringing you the Fish Smash Show. It's 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 the Fish Smash Show.
What up, y'all? JP Dumania, and you're listening to my main man on the Fiso Mazibuko Show.
You know, what an unbelievable day for Sharks Rugby. You know, I think, you know, we started building something special 2 years ago, and today is an important step in the right direction on that same path. You know, Sia, someone asked me earlier, how long was the negotiations? I know Hendrik sends these Wednesday, Thursday messages because he wants to get the Sunday scoop. But you know, it wasn't as long as he thought it was, because when a player of the likes of Sia Kolisi comes onto the market, you've got to act quickly, you know, because he ticks every single box that Sharks Rugby is about. You know, he's an unbelievable human, first of all. Secondly, he's the best captain that he proved 2019 while taking our country to being world champions. And then on the field, he's an unbelievable rugby player. So for us, it was a very easy decision. And you know, when people with like-minded views meet, often the discussions are very, very simple.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be here. It's a huge honor for me and a privilege to be part of the Sharks, and it's, you know, one chapter closed, and now I'm looking forward to the new chapter with me and my family. I'm really excited to be here, especially from my rugby point of view. It feels like my first day at school, and I've got to start fresh again. You know, I've got to fight again. You know, that feeling I had as a young boy when I started, you know, playing rugby and started playing professional, and I've got that same feeling again. You know, I think it's something that I need right now in my career, and I've got to earn the respect again of my new teammates. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm really honored and grateful to be here, and I really hope I can play my part on the field for the team and off the field as well.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Fiso Mazibuko Show. We're looking forward to today because we've got a totally different subject to what we have been attacking in the past few episodes. Today it's all about rugby, with a significant shift happening in South African rugby, and that is, well, it's a big one. Sia Kolisi leaving Western Province, leaving the Stormers and heading to my city, the Sharks. Durban, stand up, it's about to be exciting, man. Rock Nation is in the building and everyone's looking forward to it. And I thought, you know, it's such an interesting subject because you think of Sia Kolisi, you think World Cup winner naturally, you think Springbok captain, but also you think Western Province, die hard through and through, come through the ranks, captain the team. And for him to leave Western Province and to head to KwaZulu-Natal, to head to the Sharks, it's a massive, massive move. More often than not, we're seeing guys heading overseas as opposed to shifting teams here in South Africa. So, yeah, I thought, let me rope in someone I know well, someone I go way back with. He's the SA Rugby magazine editor. It sounds good, doesn't it? It's got a great ring to it, especially because I went to school with him too. Craig Lewis, I've got him. He's living in Cape Town now, but no doubt still a Durban man through and through. Craig, how's it going?
Yeah, good on you, Fiso. It's always good to catch up. It's been a long time, as you say, but yeah, we go a long way back. So yeah, it was also, you know, watching that Sia Kolisi arriving at Kings Park, where, you know, I did plenty of work out of that stadium, and kind of first kind of things in journalism were all at Kings Park and covering the Sharks. So yeah, very exciting move for South African rugby.
I mean, you touch on, you know, I guess the excitement that it brings to Durban, you know, having experienced so much in terms of from a rugby perspective, from a journalism perspective. I mean, for those who don't know, just take us through your own personal journey, where you started and how you eventually got to the position you're in today.
Yeah, so it was probably, I mean, I studied in Durban, journalism, always wanted to get into sports journalism. That's kind of where the passion lay for me. I mean, you and I played a bit of school sport together. So yeah, sport was always a big thing. And then, yeah, it was at independent newspapers, worked as kind of a beat reporter covering the Sharks for about 7 years. And yeah, then 2015 moved down to Cape Town, working for SA Rugby magazine as a senior writer. And yeah, then in the last couple of years, just progressed into editorship role, which has been, yeah, really challenging, but also really enjoyable. So yeah, that's been a kind of the latest and a good spot to be.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I always say, I love seeing good people win, and you were always one of the good guys. Even though you didn't like to take my catches behind the stumps when I used to bowl, but it's all right. It's all right. It's not a platform to be coming hard at you.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Craig, one of the things I want to touch on obviously is the SA Kolisi move as a. Are you allowed to be associated with the A team? I know you're Durbanites. Are you still a Sharks fan?
Well, I'm wearing a blue shirt and you wearing a black jumper there, so I don't know if that says anything. But no, I'm a neutral, so yeah, you can fire away on anything.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to touch on the Kolisi move because for me, it's such a significant one, from a sporting point of view, from a cultural point of view, and also you look at the recent investment in the Sharks, the involvement of Rock Nation. It just changes the dynamic completely in terms of South African rugby, which has been so traditional in how it's operated.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Sharks securing the investment with the MVM and the American consortium. I mean, obviously that's a massive thing in terms of their prospects as a franchise, and the big debate was why Western Province Rugby lost that deal, because they'd initially come to the Stormers in Cape Town looking for it to kind of take shape down here. And I mean, Kolisi was a big part of that. I mean, that link between him and some of the consortium members, certainly with Rock Nation, they knew the marketing value of someone like Sia. And that's where, where it all started really. And then the momentum shifted and Western Province, for many reasons, didn't allow that deal to go across the line, and then they went and looked elsewhere. And the Sharks very quickly, with their CEO Edward Coetzee, who's obviously got plenty kind of wits about him, he realized the value, and then he made it happen in a good amount of time. And the benefits are going to be not just seen in the short term, but definitely in the long term. I think Siya Kolisi and his signing is just really the first step of where they want to go. They want people like that associated with their brand as the Springbok captain. So yeah, I mean, it's a big move, almost as much off the field as it is on the field, which is quite interesting because I mean, Sia's had his struggles with form over the last year or so for due to injuries and other factors that he's gone into. But just as a presence and a person, a massive coup for the Sharks.
Yeah, a massive coup for the Sharks. I mean, you touched on, I guess, the marketability, but also the human being. A very nice guy, Siya Kolisi, always has time for people. And I know Edward Coetzee spoke about that. That we're not just signing, a really good player. We're signing a person who fits into our Sharks culture, a person who fits into the dynamic of everything that the Sharks are trying to build at the moment. How significant is that part of things?
Yeah, I think definitely. So I mean, in terms of like what I think he'll bring to the Sharks squad and the presence that he'll have there. I mean, there were already players this week as they went back into training. Oxen Chair speaking about just having Sia there with them. I mean, it's different at the moment. I mean, there's massive changes just in terms of where the teams are going now as they build towards the Northern Hemisphere. The preparation series kicking off this weekend. It's all about building towards the Rainbow Cup and then the Pro 16. So, I mean, it's a big shift in terms of how our South African teams are going to play, where they're going to play, the style of rugby. So, I mean, there are a lot of moving parts. So, to have someone with the presence of Siya Kolisi, the leadership capacity coming in, probably the first 2 months he's working solely on his fitness and conditioning to get up to a point where he can start to deliver on the field as much as he wants to. That's probably his first port of call, is to start getting back to the form that he wants, and then the rest will take care of itself. He knows how to be a leader. He's proven that he obviously has a lot of off-field stuff he wants to do. But I think his focus now is kind of shifting to making sure his impact is on the field, and that he proves himself in that regard first and foremost, which is important, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the one really important thing I want to touch on, and actually I should have picked up on it a little bit earlier, was the reasons behind Western Province essentially not going with the consortium takeover. We know about the struggles that have been there financially. Is it an opportunity lost for Western Province Rugby, or do they feel that they in a better place having not gone that route?
Yeah, I think that is a sort of conversation, and there's probably enough elements to it to spend like a whole half an hour to an hour just focused on that. There's a lot that's going on behind the scenes at Western Province Rugby. There's been a lot of talk that the main thing is that the clubs have their say. There's big control that they have over decisions that are taken. Losing control of a controlling stake to hand that over was something that they didn't seem to want to do. But there were major problems all along the way: a lack of communication. The consortium members came forward. They wanted certain assurances. They then were met with radio silence at times. It seemed like the meeting of the minds never really managed to be on the same level. And eventually it just got to a point where nothing was materializing, and so it fell flat. And the consortium or the investment guys were looking for that cooperation and proper communication. They found someone at the Sharks who was willing to provide that for them. The Sharks, they knew what they wanted and what they needed as a business. It's quite different to the way they run compared to the club heavy influence at Western Province Rugby. So it's a very different sort of dynamic from one franchise to another. It's not really comparing apples with apples. So each franchise had their own needs. The Sharks realized they needed and wanted another investor, and this was a good fit for them, and they made it happen. So I think there's no doubt. Looking just at face value, it is a loss for Western Province Rugby not to have that investment, to lose their most marketable player, and for the Sharks, there's going to be massive gains. There's no doubt about it.
You speak of massive gains for the Sharks. I don't know the guy. I look at Edward Kutsia or Doctor. I've got to be respectful and make sure you put in the full title. It's been hard earned. But I mean, I look at the Sharks. I look at Kutsia in particular, and I think a leader of the organization who forward thinking, and who's open-minded. I guess I look at the Western Province situation, and I think, again, I go back to those traditional values. The clubs obviously have a major say in what and how things operate. And sometimes we've seen in sport and in sports administration, people not willing to change with the times, and people not willing to adapt for the greater good. How big is that part in terms of the egos at play? And was, from a Sharks perspective, that open-mindedness the one that really got the deal over the line and makes it one that works for the Sharks and works for everybody?
I think it's a massive thing, Fiso. I think that's a big part of what Edward Kutsia wants to do with the Sharks is build a franchise and a brand that is world leading. Get the Sharks back to the point of not only competing in South African rugby and as they move into the Northern Hemisphere, but really managing to start winning some titles, having that consistency on the field. And it's also just about, there's a lot that's said about the Sharks culture. And I think this whole forward thinking that you speak of, that's what it's all about. I even mentioned when SA Kolisi arrived and they had the welcome press conference of going, this is a positive thing and it's a step in the right direction. The Sharks as a team and a franchise, not even where they want to be, but it's about taking significant steps towards getting to the point they want to be. And this is one of them. The investment was another one. But there's still a long way to go. And I think that these are the correct building blocks to put in place. And then only time will tell whether the rest, falls into place as well. Yeah,
I'm sure a very exciting time for everyone associated with the Sharks. In terms of fans, what do you think they can expect from not only the consortium that comes into play, but also the Sharks organization as a whole? What does SA Kolisi bring to the mix? How do the Sharks work going forward? Can the performances get better? Just sum it up all up for me.
Yeah, I think, it is an interesting one because, I mean, now we're in a world where the fans are not, not in the stadium. So it is, it adds a different element to that. But I think, if we were living in a world where fans could slowly start being reintegrated to the stadiums, SA Kolisi is a guy that people would rock up to watch and to see him make his debut. There's no doubt he's a guy who's going to bring in an extra bit of interest. He's going to make supporters, really watch the Sharks, and they're going to watch how he plays. But just generally, I think there's also, the element of the investment, and certainly Rock Nation's involvement is all about revolutionizing the way that the stadium experience is brought to the viewers, to making it almost, I think it's going to be similar to the sort of entertainment value you get from American sport, where the Super Bowl is about a show as much as it is about the main event of the sport. And I'd be interested to see, as we hopefully move back into some form of normality in the world, is to see whether that stadium experience is something that it will be completely novel and new to South Africa. But all the American investors who are part of this consortium, for them, that's part and parcel of it. And they've got that experience of American sport and the way things are done there. I think that'll be huge once we start seeing the effects of it.
You raise a fantastic point there with regards to Rock Nation and what they bring to the table. I mean, I've seen them getting involved with a club like AC Milan in terms of football. They've got a strong footprint in terms of representing players as well. From a marketing point of view, I mean, it's really exciting because, again, I harp on it, but rugby, especially in South Africa, is such a traditional sport. They come in, they bring in, I guess, that new age feel. And I hope that everyone will be open-minded to it, and not just think, oh no, but we've always done it this way, and just allow something different. We don't know what will be expected, but maybe you do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also in the kind of point of just really looking forward to seeing what it could actually become, because I think there's great potential to, as you say, to start doing things a little bit differently in terms of the product and the way it's presented, because we've seen crowds dwindling. We've seen viewership, for certain games that used to be massive. The interest no longer being there. For the rugby industry to survive, and particularly after all the setbacks of COVID and all the financial impact it's had, there has to be a change in the way things are done. And we've been forced into it in terms of the rugby now moving into the Northern Hemisphere. But in terms of the product, in terms of the spectator appeal, in terms of what the stadium experience is like, there has to be a change with the times to make people go, you know what, I'm going to come and watch this game, not only for the rugby and the 80 minutes, but for what I can do before the match, after the game, and maybe even at halftime. There's different things that could be done. If that whole thing is changed and made into a far bigger and greater spectacle, it can only be good for the game, and it'll start bringing fans back. It'll start bringing more revenue. It'll raise the profile. There's so many spin-offs that could be really game-changing.
Yeah, it's a truly exciting time in terms of rugby and how things are moving. When you see a strong Bulls team, it's exciting. When you see a Sharks changing the dynamic from a media perspective, from a signing perspective, again, also exciting. There's a lot of good things that are happening, and we hope that bubbles into something really significant as we move into the Northern Hemisphere, as you touched on a little bit earlier on. Let's speak about that quickly, because it's going to be different, but I guess difference is never a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got so used to, the Super Rugby product and what we've seen there at franchise level, and it's been fantastic for a long time. But then it also got bloated, and it actually lost some of its appeal. And sure, it's great to wake up on a Saturday morning and watch us play, the Sharks play the Crusaders, or a big game with the Stormers and the Chiefs. From a New Zealand perspective, we always love to see those Kiwi teams playing, our local franchises. But when it was an Australian derby and us playing Aussie teams, there just wasn't that factor anymore. So I think the potential now to go and see a different style of rugby against teams that we've only really watched kind of in passing, with passing interest in the Northern Hemisphere. Now we're going to go up against these bigger teams. If it's a stepping stone into European competition, that'll be even better to be able to see us competing against the top French clubs. A Toulon versus the Bulls would be an incredible prospect. I think that's where hopefully it eventually all leads. But I think just as a change from the norm is going to be a good thing.
Yeah, excited to see how it does go. Excited to see all the South African teams taking on those Northern Hemisphere sides, and hopefully they'll come out smiling at the end of it. The one thing that has, I guess, always made me sad is you look at the cheaters, right? And you think they're always just getting left behind. You know, what's happening? You know, I mean, in a perfect world, you look at it, and you think they were obviously competing in the Pro 14 with the Kings as well. You know, they kind of got there first, and then next thing they find themselves, you know, in the cold. You know, how sad is that? Number one, because we know how much quality players come out of the Free State. How sad are you with regards to that? And is there a way forward with regards to the cheaters?
Yeah, it is. You know, it's a really tough situation for them. And you're right. I mean, for many, you know, for many people who, let's say, if you're a Sharks fan or Storms fan, your second team for most people is often the cheaters, because they've always played this attractive brand of rugby. They're often the underdog, who've managed to, you know, somehow find a way to perform and to play, you know, an enjoyable brand of rugby. And yet somehow, like you say, when it comes down to it, they're seen almost as fifth on the pecking order, and that's what it is. The top four franchises were the ones who will go into the Pro 16 when it expands, and the cheaters are fifth on the pecking order, and they just can't make it in, and it's rough for them. And you know, I think, you know, they're looking to move forward, and on the brighter side, they're saying, you know, we're going to find another competition to enter into, but it's not quite the same. And you've got players there who must be going, you know, we are getting left behind in a sense, if they were being honest about it. And it's not the easiest, and it's certainly not, you know, for them, it's unfortunate. And you can only feel for some of the players and the coaches who've actually, you know, they were the first team to go, all right, we'll enter the Pro 14. And now they kind of get knocked out at the expense of the other leading franchises. But it's also the nature of the game in terms of how cutthroat the industry is at the moment, and in terms of what they bring to the party. There's obviously reasons for them being the team that loses out, as sad as it is.
Yeah, tough times indeed for the men out in Bloemfontein. But in terms of SA Rugby as a whole, there are certain elements that are really exciting. And like I said, a strong Bulls team, always good to see. Jake White has changed a lot there. And yeah, in terms of how things are positioned, just in closing, Craig, how excited are you going forward? I know everyone's hoping for normality to return. And when it does, hopefully, you know, rugby is in a good position.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, we are probably, in a way, I think most people have actually been almost sheltered from what an impact the industry has undergone, you know, financially, with people, you know, the top coaches, the top players taking pay cuts, the effect of COVID on their lives and their families, and that impacted it. A lot of people don't realize, you know, how difficult the last, you know, 12 to 16 months have been. And for the industry to survive, we now need to start being a little bit adaptable. And just before I got on the Zoom call with you, there was a press release that came out about, you know, the way they want the game to start changing, to start speeding it up. Rassie Erasmus was speaking about, you know, the things that players have to do to change their behavior, to make the game more appealing. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work that has gone on in terms of paving the way forward. And, you know, they want to see a better product. They want to see the game moving forward. And I can only hope that starts to take effect now, and that we start to see some really enjoyable rugby, some positive changes. Hopefully fans can return before long. A British and Irish Lions series coming up, if that can go ahead. See the Springboks as the world champions back in action. All of those things are really positive. See Kolisi moving to the Sharks is, you know, for them a positive. The investment from an American consortium, it is a positive. So there are things to start looking forward to. And after like a really dire time where for over 6 months last year we saw no rugby locally, you know, moving forward, there's a jam-packed calendar ahead. You know, I do hope, like you say, it's good times ahead.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and I've really enjoyed our chats. I hope in future we can tap into you again for a bit of rugby inside information. But yeah, thank you for your time, Craig. I appreciate it, and all the best going forward.
Thanks, Fiso. Yeah, great catching up, and anytime.
Yeah, really good to hear from Craig Lewis, a mate I went to school with. We played cricket at school together, played hockey together. one of the most intelligent guys that we had at the school, you know. So it's nice to see people going far and doing amazing things. But yeah, man, beyond that, taking what I took out of that interview is just how exciting it is for the Sharks, anyone affiliated with the team, anyone affiliated with the franchise, fans, players. There's a certain buzz that has come about with the acquisition of Kolisi. There's a certain media interest that has come about because of the acquisition from the consortium, and the affiliation of Rock Nation. I think changes the things from a cultural point of view and brings a different kind of an influence. So pretty exciting times for the Sharks. I hope all of you do take something from this particular episode. And yeah, I will try and do a little bit more rugby every now and then on the show, and we'll continue to interact with you accordingly. So very exciting times. Looking forward to the next episode. I'll let you know what we have in store for you on social media. So make sure that you follow us at Twitter. We are at Fismaz Show Pod. On Instagram, it's the Fismaz Show. You can also follow us on Facebook. And of course, you can follow Fismaz TV on YouTube. That's where you can find the show. We'll upload all of the episodes on there as well. And then you can also go check out the website, www.thefismazshow.com. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us for another episode. Short, sharp, sweet, to the point. Kolisi moving to Durban. That's the agenda. That's the main focus for this week. It's a wrap for me, Fiso Mazibuko. Thank you guys. I love you. Keep well.